Ruchim Abayim, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Chazan Jeremy Stein of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and with me, as always, is my co-host extraordinaire, Wendy Freed. Wendy, how are you?
Great. I couldn't unmute myself. I had a moment of panic.
Did you get kicked off?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know how, but anyway.
You had a moment of panic. How do you think I felt?
Oh, I love that setting. It's just amazing. And it comes from a whole collection of, we just learned the history online, and there's a whole set of YouTubes about this collection that was created and recorded and composed by Charles Davidson, who is our focus and incredible teacher that many of us have had the opportunity and honor to have educate us and grow us into the cantors that we are today. So we're happy to see all of you who are on here to do the same and to really take a moment to give thanks.
Yeah, and this is through the years of SongSwap, we have our themes have been Jewish holidays, specific Jewish holidays. We've had Jewish services, where certain liturgical services, holidays, themes. This is our first time ever doing a tribute to a specific composer, and it's our honor to honor the memory of Cantor Charles Davidson, cantor, composer, teacher, mentor to generations. And so we're going to be hearing music and
memories.
and memories. And first is our good friend and colleague, Rabbi Cantor Seth Adelson. Seth, welcome on.
Thank you very much. By the way, it's Rabbi Chazan.
Rabbi Chazan.
Okay. How do you do that? Because I know we can do Raptor and Can't I, but I haven't figured out the.
I'm more of a crab actually. Wendy and I were classmates. We finished cantorial school in 2005, 2004, and then I decided to stick around JTS for a few more years in the rabbinical school. But I have many fond memories. Am I supposed to share my memory first or sing a song for memory first?
Whichever you like.
So this is already more than 2 decades ago. So my memory ain't what it used to be. But I'll tell you, I do remember that Cantor Davidson was very particular about congregational tunes, and I'm pretty sure that one of our classmates, who may be here, I don't know, tried to kill him with an inappropriate congregational tune, and that melody was, I'm going to try to sing it. It was when we were studying High Holidays, and this person who shall remain nameless sang the following: Hayom harat olam, Hayom yamid b'mishpat. Needless to say, Uncle Charles was not happy about the application of happy birthday to that text, which speaks of the birth of the world on Rosh Hashanah. I also had a sort of a run in myself where in one of our Nusach presentations, I used a melody that some folks, it's sort of well known out there. I think it's very popular in certain Orthodox groups for Mare Chohen, which actually was taken out of. It's not even in the Lev Shalem Machzor, but it speaks of the Kohen Gadol coming out after the being in the Holy of Holies, and there's a melody that's become sort of popular. I don't even know who wrote it. It goes Emet Manedar Haya Kohen Gadol, etc., etc. So I used that in a Nusach presentation for High Holidays, and Uncle Charles did not like that at all. And afterwards, he dissed it. And I don't even remember exactly what it said. It was something like, he described it as something like along the lines of a Zulu bubblegum pop song. He did not. I don't think that wasn't exactly the quote, but it was really offensive. And he was a soft spoken. He was a gentle man. For him to say that was pretty. Yeah, it was pretty nasty. One more brief thing. Can I take one more?
For you, yes.
Is that one time in class?
One for being a rabbi, one for being a chazan. Yeah.
Thank you. But hey, it was counting. He was speaking about Solomon Rozovsky, who had taught in the JTS cantorial school years before, and Cantor Davidson, of course, remembered him. Rozovsky, I think, was probably, at least in our circles, he was best known for having written down, a trope, notated Tamei Mikra, the chanting systems, and he had borrowed them from Ne'eman, anyway, the Lithuanian trope. Doesn't matter. But the way that Cantor Davidson described Solomon Rozovsky was to say he had big, luscious lips. I just remember saying this in class and thinking, I thought this was an academic institution. All right. Anyway, so
any music to share?
I do have music to share. So I hope those are good. Those were appropriate stories.
Yes.
Okay. The piece that I want to share, I didn't actually have to dig so far for this because I've used this many times. It's a congregational tune for Vishamru that you can use in the morning Amidah, the Shacharit Amidah for Shabbat, and he called it in Hasidic style, although I'm not sure exactly what's Hasidic about it. But it's certainly in the mode, the appropriate Nusach mode for Shabbat Shacharit. And it goes like this. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ ואת הארץ. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. If you want the music, you can find that in it's called Zamrulo, the next generation, the new Zamrulo, the Shabbat volume.
Totally one of my favorites. Absolutely. Such a good one. Thank you. We loved your memories too. And that's a great thing about Uncle Chuck, is that some of the memories are going to be funny and, like that. And some of them will be touching as is warranted and beautiful. The one thing that we really, one of the reasons why we felt it was really important to honor Cantor Davidson here is because he was such a proponent for participation in the service. And that's what we're all about at SongSwap. And we want to make sure that people can participate, however, and in every way possible. And he really, I think, was one of the early cheerleaders for that. So we're so happy. Thank you. Thank you, Seth.
So speaking of participating in any way possible, a number of people, former students and colleagues, reached out and said, I'd love to share something. One of them, Cantor Steve Storr of Chicago, volunteered, and then unfortunately he's officiating a funeral right now, but he recorded both a memory and some music, which he shared with me that I will share with all of you right now. Cantor Steve Storr.
Hello, my dear friends in SongSwap universe. Sorry I can't be with you in person or on Zoom with you, but I have to do those things that we have to do so very often unexpectedly. I'm so pleased to talk about and honor Charles Davidson, Uncle Charlie, a guy from Pittsburgh, so he and I had a lot of things in common and got to kibitz about the Pirates, Olav Shalom, and the Steelers, Olav Shalom. And we had a nice nostalgic connection there, even though we were born in different era. We went to the same high school, and we just had a lot of fun with that. He was the heir apparent to Max Wohlberg, and then there was Boaz Tarsi, and then there was Brian Mayer, and then there was all these wonderful people that loved Nusach and loved keeping the traditions of Frankfurt and other communities alive. And we have the Bear Nusach book and stuff, but Wohlberg was always the measuring stick, if you will. And then came Charlie. And he created those wonderful books on Nuschaot and made it so much easier to express and transmit that. It took me a long time to figure that stuff out. My classmate, Brian Mayer, however, picked it up quickly. So Charles really appreciated Brian for his academia and his quest to study the pratim of Nusach, and he liked me because I was from Pittsburgh. I want to sing a quick little ditty that comes from one of his early services. When we talk about old music, it can be chronologically old, but not out of date. Some of this stuff, the Hasidic Shabbat and his Sephardic Shabbat, and even Arthur Yolkoff, Olav Shalom's Shirat Hatidenu is beautiful children's stuff. I know a lot of you create new music, and that's great, and I don't have the ability to do it, and I'm so impressed by those of you who do create new. But sometimes, Chadesh Yamenu Kikedem, going back to the old stuff is wonderful, and there's no reason not to sing it. We still sing Lewandowski and Zolzer, why not Davidson? So I'm going to sing this ditty, and I hope it's a nice moment of tribute to a beautiful man. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu, Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu, Baruchuni L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu, Tzeitechem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu. Enjoy it. Remember him. Smile. Thanks. I hope I'll see you all maybe in February or maybe at convention, but I miss y'all. Take care.
Nice. That was a beautiful tribute. I had not heard that.
I had not either.
I love it.
But yeah, he said, I don't know what's Hasidic about it. I think that was written in a time. I wish he had given the date. We'll have to look it up, or if someone knows it can put it in. There was a time when people were writing services, often Friday night services, mostly in the Reform congregations, but also in some conservative congregations. It was a complete service, and there were, I think, many composers. Israel Fried as well wrote Hasidic services. The idea was, let's make them freilich, let's give them some energy. Let's with some nigunim, that all in this sort of a little bit of tom of some ruach.
Like the tom, yeah, exactly, yeah.
And I believe that was that's what Cantor Davidson was going for. Let's bring things back to the those who are here.
SongSwap world.
Yeah, in the real SongSwap world. Who's next, Wendy?
We have Arian Brown is next. We're so happy to have you on. I think it's certainly been a while, and we're privileged. So I think you have a couple things to share. Yes.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be a part of this song swap in particular. I love Uncle Charles. I will always have so much love and appreciation in my heart for him. I just think in general of how much time we spent in that little classroom that would get really hot with the heater and all his posters and the piano and sitting around the table and writing in notes like the Roman numeral 4 or UD, Ukrainian Dorian, or just all these different variations of where we could go with the nusach and how to improvise. And he trained generations of us, and I will always be grateful. I have 2 melodies to share. Unfortunately, I failed in my Zoom hookup. It's been just so long since virtual times that I couldn't get it going so that the piano wouldn't distort. But in both of these pieces, Charles put such beautiful chords in it. So we'll have to imagine that background with it. The first is Chaverim Kol Yisrael. This, I love highlighting this text. I've used this melody right in the middle of Birkat HaChodesh, blessing of the new month. And Chaverim Kol Yisrael, all Israel are friends. What a beautiful thought to illuminate in song. And this, I actually remember hearing it growing up. I see that it was published in 1990, so it must have been fresh off the press back then. It's to be sung robustly. There's claps in it, and I will try my best to obey all of the dynamics and markings that he added to make it as expressive as possible. Chaverim kol Yisrael, Chaverim kol Yisrael, Chaverim, Chaverim, Chaverim kol Yisrael, Chaverim kol Yisrael, Chaverim kol Yisrael, Chaverim, Chaverim, Chaverim kol Yisrael, lu 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 Chaverim kol Yisrael, Chaverim kol Yisrael, Chaverim, Chaverim, Chaverim kol Yisrael, Chaverim kol Yisrael, Chaverim kol Yisrael, Chaverim, Chaverim, Chaverim kol Yisrael, Chaverim, Chaverim, Chaverim kol Yisrael. And now for something very different from a different time of year. Charles Davidson wrote the famous cantata, The Hush of Midnight, which was actually premiered at Addis Israel. I don't know the year. Maybe someone can put that in the chat. It was a huge production with orchestra and underscoring of rabbis' parts, which were scripted, and chorus and cantor, and it made it onto the news. And it was just such creativity and something brand new at the time. By the time I got here, it was not being sung at Slichot anymore. I do this little excerpt from it on Slichot and on Yom Kippur, since the Shloshes Remitot, the Slach Lanu, it repeats a lot of times. So I always use this. And there's always some of the older members that they get it. And I look them in the eye and they get exactly what it's from. And sometimes they'll ask me after. The one thing they consistently ask for is, can we sing in the fall one day? So I will sing this with the in the fall part. I just use the Hebrew now, but you can see how it's all framed. In the fall, when the leaves are red as blood, when the butterflies are dust, we repent us of our sins. A little interlude. Then there's a whole underscoring, and we get to Vaya'avor Adonai al panav vayikra Adonai, Adonai El Rachum Vechanun Erech HaPayim V'Rav Chesed Ve'emet Notzer Chesed La'alafim Nosei Avon V'Fesha וחטא ונקה, וסלחת לעווננו ולחטאתנו, ונחלתנו. סלח לנו אבינו כי חטאנו, מחלנו מלכנו, כי פשענו. כי אתה אדוני טוב וסלח ורב חסד לכל קוראיך. In the fall, when the leaves are red as blood, when the butterflies are dust, we repent us of our sins. Thank you.
Ah, nice. I love it. Actually, Marina was just writing that she said, if nobody does Hush of Midnight, I can do it. And then you did the exact same thing that she was just going to do. So that's really funny.
Yeah, so this is I somehow came across the score of Hush of Midnight, possibly from his collection.
Wow, yeah.
Copyright 1986. And one of the fascinating things about Hush of Midnight, I remember you're right, Arian, it was a big production, but it wasn't just a, if you will, stage production. The way he described it, he taught the music to the congregation. Yes, he had professional performers, presenters, if you will, but he said that he taught the congregation the whole summer they spent learning the congregational melodies and responses, so that when it was time for the Slichot service, the congregation knew their part, and it was this very organic give and take interplay between the chazan, the choir, and the congregation, and truly innovative for his time. So I'm so glad that you were able to share that with us, Arian. Thank you so much.
Well, Leanne Scher just said also that when he was 12 years old, he went to a Columbus Boys Choir summer music camp, and the boys' choir was learning Charles's new and wonderful opera, I Never Saw Another Butterfly, so that they could use it and do it later. And I think that was really his modus operandi, was just to make sure that everybody felt like they were part of the experience in a very real and meaningful way, so that they could take the music home with them in their hearts and know it in their kishkis, you know? Yeah.
And there was a question, Arian, if you can answer in the chat. Diane Newman wanted to know, do you use that Chaverim Kol Yisrael at Rosh Chodesh Bensing? Here, I'll unmute you. Is that when you use it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
And okay, so thank you so much, Arian. We have Matt Alsterklein is with us. Let's get Matt on. Let's unmute you. Matt, do we have matching kippot?
We do.
I think you do.
Slightly different colors, but same origin.
Oh, God.
I'm just cosplaying as Jeremy Stein today. Sorry.
Same beard, same glass, same.
But you're wearing the wrong sweater.
I'm wearing the wrong
Wrong sweater. Should have done Hanukkah.
Matt, what are you sharing with us today?
So I'll share a short memory, and I have two pieces. So I studied with Cantor Davidson the last 2 years he was teaching. And it was, it was a sadder time. He had lost his wife. He was I didn't have the sort of the glory days of him in all of his vigor and with all of his cheshek. but I did feel like studying with him, I was like, we were doing such basic things in Nusach, and it felt like, like we were studying Algebra 1 from Einstein, but when you would talk to him, sometimes you just get little comments which would show like the full depth underneath. And I always found those very precious. And I always appreciate Cantor Davidson. Also, obviously, we've continued to correspond here and there over the years and follow my academic interests too. So I'm very grateful to him. And partly related to that, I'm going to share two things that I've never performed, but that I find quite beautiful. One, again, Cantor Davidson really produced a profound amount of these, composed services and cantatas. I think he even before his death indexed all the ones he knew in the Journal of Synagogue Music. I think you can find all of them. This is from his Baroque suite, which is for children's choir and sort of Baroque obbligato and harpsichord and cello. So this is called Morning Hymn, and the whole suite is the settings of the poems of Yehuda Halevi, who was such a real advocate, not just of faith. He was such a faithy poet, but a real advocate of music, if you read his writings. So it says, the suite is in the style of the Baroque, should be performed simply and without affectation. And I'm broadcasting from a public library, so I can't really sing other than simply and without affectation in this space. Otherwise, we have to go to a different room. So I'll sing this, and then I will sing an Ahavat Olam from his Sabbath evening service. These are both choral pieces, fundamentally, but I'll be singing the melody line, should give you the feel of the whole thing. And this is also in Hebrew or English. I'm trying to do a mashup for you guys so that you get a sense of both. I apologize for the glare.
כל כוכבי בוקר לך ישירו, יזהוריהם ממך יזהירו. Stars in the morning sky sing to thee. Stars in the morning sky sing to thee. בני אלוהים עומדים על משמרות, ליל ויום שם נהדר ידירו, וכקדושים קיבלו מהם, וחושן לשחרר ביתך יאירו. And I who watch the night fade into dawn, send prayers on starlight to greet thy sweet name, to thee glorify, thee glorify. Stars of morning, thy name glorify. וכל שחר לשחר בך יאירו. Thy name glorify, thy name glorify.
That's a very Baroque feeling piece, and I'm a Baroque singer, so I'll try to get this so it's not as glary. There we go, slightly better, but not that much better. Don't put this on television. Okay, Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amecha Ahavta Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limadeta al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbeinu u'vekumeinu נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. And here's the new sach, it's important. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה השם אוהב עמו ישראל.
So he got the little Western European thing in at the end there. He got the Vatak because he knew all of it. He just knew all of it. So may his memory be for a blessing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I was singing the harmonies with you for Ahavat Olam. Absolutely. Again, another favorite. So good. Fabulous. All right. Thank you so much, Matt. Blair and all. Jeremy, who's next?
Yeah, so now we have my colleague from my southern border neighbor, Cantor Susie Lewis Friedman in Chicago. Susie, how are you? Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah. How are you?
I'm good.
So glad to have you on.
Yay, thanks for having me. So this is an Ahavat Olam by Charles Davidson. I was telling Jeremy today, there's another really beautiful Charles Davidson piece that I have that I've done for Yom HaShoah for a concert commemoration. It's called The Butterfly. Only I never saw another butterfly, which is great. But this one is a more practical one that you can, it's in his Shalosh Regalim collection. But so I'm going to do it a cappella because that's what I've been working on. You can also use it. You probably already know this. Do you know this one, or has anyone shared this one yet today? The Ahavat Olam from Shalosh Regalim.
Not unless that was just what Matt.
No, that was not. Okay, yeah. Leon said that's from the collection he mentioned. Hi, Leon. Okay. Anyway, so this is Ahavat Olam for Shalosh Regalim. And okay, so Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Ahavta Torah Mitzvot Chukim Umishpatim Otanu Limadta. I'm going to do a little bit too, like if you're a congregation that can play the piano, that uses instruments, which is not often, but in our Reform colleagues, we sometimes do. So this is what it would be like if you played the piano. Ahavat Olam. Baruch atah Adonai. And then that's the Chatima, or the Amol Yisrael would be the Chatima for that one. So that's Ahavat Olam.
Thank you, Susie. Could you just give a quick snippet, a cappella, please, because it's hard to hear both.
Absolutely.
No,
Absolutely.
Just a little bit of I Never Heard Another Butterfly.
Oh, you wanted me to do that? Okay.
Just a little.
Yeah. Okay. Let me grab that one. Only I think I have it from memory. So you know what? I'll just do it from memory.
Okay.
Only I never saw another butterfly, another butterfly, the very last, so richly, brightly, dazzlingly yellow. Perhaps if the sun's tears stars would sing against a white stone. Such a yellow is lightly upon. It went away. It went away. Because to kiss the world goodbye. It goes on for 7 weeks. I've lived in here, penned up inside this ghetto. But now I found my people here. The dandelions care for me, and the white chestnut candles in the park. Oh, the song another another That's butterfly. It's a little better with piano, but
Thank you very much. And
Thank
we appreciate you sharing that. And also, all of these, it's quite frustrating to try. We were trying to find, as we usually do at the beginning, a setting that we can share to start off everything. We really were trying to look for a recording of Uncle Charles, Uncle Chuck, he goes by so many names, actually singing one of his pieces. And we could not find that, but we found a lot on YouTube. And there's the whole cantata, everything from I Never Saw Another Butterfly is probably one of the most famous and well recorded. And we found that everywhere. So if anybody wants to go on and check that out, it's there in many different forms and fashions. So thank you very much, Susie, for sharing. We appreciate you.
So Wendy, you said that you were a fan of Davidson's Motto Vu. Would you like to share that?
All right. So
Okay.
I don't normally share, but before I even knew who Charles Davidson was, I knew his Motto Vu. And I learned it as a small child with Cantor Davis Propus. We learned his Nigun and Motto Vu for one of the Friday night services that we did. And he had the children lead the Nigun part. And so it's been very close to my heart for a really long time. And I told him this story and he said, wow, I'm so famous. You knew me even before. Anyway, so the other memory that I have of him is I had just finished my Nusach presentation. And he said that it said something I didn't understand because I didn't at the time know. I had heard the name Leib Glantz, but I didn't really know his music yet. And this is, my first or second year at cantorial school. And he said, I've never had a student so like Leib Glantz. And I had no idea. I had no idea what that meant and whether it was a compliment or not. And I spent the rest of the day asking all of my teachers, is that a compliment? What does that mean? How does that work? I don't understand. And eventually I went back to him the next day and I said, I'm wrestling with this because I don't know what the context was. And he said, well, you just use silence so beautifully. So it wasn't even the times that I was singing. It was actually when I was totally silent and not doing anything that he was complimenting. So I'm not sure how I feel about that still today. But anyway, so that was my best story about Charles Davidson. So anyway, love this tune. It goes like this. Yay da 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 da, yay da 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 da, yay da 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 da, yay da 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 da. Matov alecha Yaakov, Mishkanotecha Yisrael. Yay da 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 da, yay da 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 da. Yay da 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 da, yay da 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 da. ואני ברוב חסדך אבוא ביתך, אבוא ביתך, אשתחווה לך קודשך, ביראתך, ביראתך, everyone, Adonai אהבתי מאוד ביתך ומקום משכן כבודך ואני אשתחווה בך אברך לפני אדוני עושי ואני תפילתי לך אדוני את רצון אלוהים ברוב חסדך ענני במקדישך So that's that. And obviously, as is his way, he used the nigun to bring everybody back together and still have his moments of awareness a little bit. So some people add that in the middle, and you can do that as well. But I like to stick to what he wrote here, and it's in the Shabbat Anthology, Volume 2, the very first piece. What an honor.
Nice.
Thank you for allowing me to share that. And yeah. Okay.
That's great. Wendy, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I see Bill Lieberman. I see that you're on. I can't tell if you're driving or if you are. It looks like I see both of your hands. So I'm going to take a chance that you are not driving and that you are in the passenger seat. Bill, are you able to unmute? Bill called me up earlier this week and said, I'm going to be driving. I don't know if it's appropriate to share. While I'm driving, I said, you would not be the first person to share on SongSwap from the car.
That's for sure.
So people share from the library, they share from their office, they share from the car.
Well, I'm not driving right now. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
It's kind of in and out, but we'll go with it. We'll see if we can make it work.
Okay. Thanks for having me today. I'm on a little bit of a road trip, but I didn't want to miss this opportunity. We heard from Matt a little while ago that he was a student of Uncle Charles, towards the end of his tenure, if not his first class at the seminary, probably just one of the first classes. But I believe in 1975, that's when one of his first classes. So Uncle Charlie, he was a great mentor. In the 1970s, this was he was in his mid 40s, and I think he was probably at the height of his professional career and his output, and because he was such a great mentor, he invited us to spend Shabbatot with him in Elkins Park. And I was one of the ones that he invited. And I felt privileged being from Brooklyn and being used to a certain type of synagogue. When I came to Elkins Park and to AJ, you can imagine, 1,500, 2,000 families and all that great music that I'd never heard before. So he to me at that time was the epitome of the modern American cantor, one that you would aspire to be like at that time, because not only the music that he produced and that I heard at the synagogue, but staying for the Shabbat and for Sunday, and being firsthand at the religious school, and seeing how close he worked with his beloved Frances. She was a wonderful Jewish educator, early childhood music educator, and they worked so closely together. And I was at his choir rehearsals on Sunday morning, where he'd be called Uncle Cantor, and things like that were just so new to me and so wonderful. He took us up. I don't know how many others he did, but he took us up to the top floor of his home. I'll never forget 425 Ashbourne Road, right in Elkins Park. It was right across from the synagogue. He took us up to the top level of this old Victorian home that they lived in, and he had his study there, and the music that he'd produced were laid out beautifully on a shelf, and he would just take you up there, and he'd pull the music off one by one, like he was taking food off a shelf, at a supermarket, and he'd give you this music. And I started to collect all this music and used so much of it during my career. And so I just wanted to share one, because I don't want to take up too much time, but with being there a couple of times in Elkins Park, he mentioned to me, and I'm not sure if it's true, that he said at one time the best tune that he ever wrote was the Adon Olam from the Hasidic Sabbath. So I've used that so many times for various occasions, and I'll sing a couple of bars of that. Adon Olam Hashem alach b'terem kolim Yetzir nivra leyet nasa v'chefzo kol azay melech shemo nikra ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה תראי לילה בליבם בליבם בים בם בים בם צ'ילי בים בים בם I bide biddy bum, I biddy bum, bim bum, bim bim bum, chitty biddy bum. So such fond memories, and I'm so privileged to be here with all of you today to share some of those with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
Bill, thank you so much. And as I said, this is part of what SongSwap is about, is sharing music wherever you are and whatever you are doing. We've had people, you just called in from a car. Matt called in from the library. We've had people call in from work, from the gym, from the streets of Brooklyn. Thank you so much for sharing that beautiful music and the beautiful memories. I'm actually going to share, Miriam Davidson just shared with me a live recording, I believe, with Charles singing, and I'm putting that in the chat, so everybody will be able to hear and enjoy that.
Thank you so much. This is exactly what we were looking for.
So we have one more presenter, and then we're actually going to invite some of Charles Davidson's family who are here to share some words and of remembrance. But our final final musical presenter, or I actually don't know that, maybe because the Davidson family will be musical presenters as well. But Cantor Martin Levson, one of my Wisconsin cantor friends and colleagues.
So happy to have you on.
Yes.
It is an honor to be here and to memorialize Chazan Davidson in this way. So it was over 30 years ago, I say with some hesitation, that I spent a fair amount of time with Chazan Davidson because he was the subject of my cantorial master's thesis.
Wow.
And so I spent a great deal of time with him, both in his office at JTS uptown, and I too went down to Elkins Park a couple of times for the weekend. And I remember, Bill, I remember very clearly that attic in his house and the shelf. And every time I would visit him, whether it was at JTS or at his home, he'd be pulling things off the shelves and say, "Do you have a copy of this? You really ought to have this. You should have this." My memories of Cantor Davidson are of his sweet neshama, and he was very, very generous with his time. Here was this kid who had a little tape recorder going and asking him about his musical compositions and his philosophy of composing and so on and like that. But he very graciously, shared memories of his earliest days. Fun fact: a member of my congregation here in Waukesha, Wisconsin, her mother was the accompanist for Chazan Davidson at the Wantagh Jewish Center on Long Island. And so she has memories of Cantor Davidson as that was her childhood cantor. And so that's a very sweet thing that she also shares memories of Cantor Davidson. I was always impressed with his commitment to a melody that the congregation could sing and yet was also heavily rooted in nusach and tradition, and the way that he blended those two things. I've had the honor of presenting his Hasidic service and his Sephardic service in various pulpits that I've served throughout my career. Wonderful music in both of those, but many, many other wonderful compositions. But I wanted to share a very simple little tune that Cantor Davidson wrote in 1990 for youth choir. And it's written for two-part youth choir, but I'm only going to do the one part. And I'm going to accompany myself on the guitar. And this is a very sweet and simple setting of Shalom Rav that he wrote. And it goes like this. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tahasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tahasim leolam. Ki atahu melech, Adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech, Adon lechol hashalom. Vetov beinecha, Livarech et amcha Yisrael, Bechol et bechol sha'a bishlomecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tahasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tahasim leolam. Ki atahu melech, Adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech, Adon lechol hashalom. Vetov beinecha, Livarech et amcha Yisrael, Bechol et bechol sha'a bishlomecha.
Ah, beautiful. Really beautiful. And I love looking around all the squares and seeing people singing.
Good.
Thank you so much.
My
That's
pleasure.
wonderful, Martin. And you're invited back anytime.
Oh.
Please come share. All right.
So I want to put something in the chat. Cantor Howard Glantz, who is the current cantor at Adith Jeshurun, sent in was not able to come on, but he did share a video, both a musical and personal tribute. We won't have time to share, but I'm going to put that in the chat, and I encourage people to check that out when they have a chance. But he also sent me a picture. He said that at the synagogue there's portraits of the retired rabbis. He said there should be a portrait of the retired cantor, and so with some much cajoling, because Cantor Davidson would never approve to this naturally, he had a portrait commissioned of Cantor Davidson with a plaque honoring 50 years of devotion to Congregation Adith Jeshurun. And I just wanted to share that beautiful tribute from Chazan Glantz. And again, please check out the link in the chat where you can see Cantor Glantz's tribute. So, as I said, we are honored to have some of Cantor Davidson's family with us today, and we'd like to invite them on to share a few words. And if there's more of you that we don't see, please let us know. And
well, first of all, thank you all so much for this beautiful tribute. Thank you, Jeremy and Wendy, for just creating this incredible atmosphere and putting this together. And I'm Ilana. I'm Charles's youngest, and I want to say hi to Bill and Martin, and thank you for coming to the house on the weekends. And I apologize if I made you come play in my room with my Barbie dolls and stuff, which I tended to do every weekend when my dad was trying to teach people. I'd drag them into my room and make them play. It has been so wonderful to hear all of this incredible singing and the beautiful music of Dad's, especially the gorgeous I Never Saw Another Butterfly, hearing the Hush of Midnight. And you are right, Jeremy. My dad worked all summer to work with the congregation and to prepare everybody to sing so that when the Hush of Midnight happened at AJ, everybody sang the whole time, and it was just incredible. I love the Baroque suite. It's one of my favorite things, and just among others, so many beautiful pieces. And a couple memories I have is that I had Mondays with Dad. So I would go from my apartment on the Upper West Side and go up and meet Dad every Monday. We'd have dinner, sometimes a movie, and we'd go up into his little room. So it was wonderful to hear memories of that little room. And he really just loved it with all the pictures on the wall. And it was just such an incredible time for him to be able to work with all of his students. And I'm always amazed that my father has been Uncle Charles, the ubiquitous Uncle Charles, to both his students and also his congregants dating back decades. And I'm not exactly sure how that happened, but it's really delightful. And thank you again so much. And on behalf of our entire family, this has been really just a wonderful gift. Thank you.
No, that's really sweet. So I'm Miriam. I'm the eldest. And I, too, have very fond memories of all of you coming to the house and us all wondering, now what's going on? We don't really understand. But nonetheless, it was delightful listening to all of you and your remembrances of Dad. And funny, Bill, that you should mention, or somebody, may have been Bill, somebody else, his room up on the third floor with the piano and the music, pulling stuff off the shelves. I've been spending a lot of time up there lately, taking music off the shelves and trying to figure out what to do with it all. But this has really been wonderful, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to have listened to all of you share. And Dad would absolutely kill me if I did not mention that all of his music is available on his website at ashbournemusicpublishing.com.
You'll put that in the chat, please.
Absolutely.
Which I manage for him, and which we will, of course, continue to keep running so his music can continue to be sung all over. And thank you all so much once again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. It means a lot to us that you're here. That you're bear witness to all of us and the gleanings that we have from him. Yeah. So we have, I think, one more recording that we're going to play on our way out. This is of David Berger, and it's Anna, the Anna Dodi that we all really love. Before we do that, we have a couple of announcements. And one of those is, I can't pull up my calendar. Our next song swap is on, did we decide, Jeremy?
Yeah, I think we're leaning towards January 3rd. We know
Everybody raise your hand if you want January 3rd.
I think people will. I think our feeling is that people will be will be recovered from New Year's.
Yeah,
and we'll,
like we wanted to bring it back to the.
We'll go back to the first of the month. First Wednesday.
Yeah. So January 3rd, please come and join us. It's been such a blessing for us to be able to share Uncle Cantor's. I love that. Such a great name. Charles Davidson's music with you, with everyone here today. Certainly a different use of SongSwap, but a really beautiful and meaningful one. And we hope that you will take his music and look him up on YouTube and on his website, and really make use of all of his incredible settings. As Steve Storr said before, the oldies and goodies. That's really what we need to, I think, in my opinion, expose our congregations and our children, the next generation, to all of these incredible tunes and melodies that are so usable for today. Yeah. Jeremy, anything else?
No, I couldn't have said it better myself. We're going to go out with Anna Dodi by Cantor Charles Davidson, sung by Cantors David Berger and Andrea Ray Markovitz. And afterwards, everyone, as always, is welcome to stick around. We'll stop the recording. We'll unmute for a little after party schmooze.
And thank you to everyone who shared today. We really appreciate it.
Amen. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. May Cantor Davidson's memory be for a blessing, and may his memory, may his life and his legacy live on in the music of his that we sing and we remember, and in the memories that we share.
This was Matt Axelrod's idea.
Yes.
To give him credit. The credit is due. So thank you for this. This is really, really a great idea. Very meaningful. We appreciate you.
Anadol